So you may have seen Jameis Winston was trending yesterday, and not for the right reasons. He was given a talk at an elementary school, and he had some poor choice of words, let's be honest. And we have the video to throw to, and then we're going to get into discussion on the matter.
I can do anything I put my mind to. Okay, I know I got a lot of people like this. All my boys, all my young boys, stand up, man. The ladies sit down, sit down. But all my boys, stand up, stand up. We strong, right? We strong, right? Okay, all my boys, just tell me one time. I can do anything I put my mind to. A lot of boys don't supposed to be soft-spoken. You know what I'm saying? One day y'all gonna have a very deep voice like this. Right now y'all talking like this, but one day y'all have a very, very deep voice. But the ladies, they supposed to be silent, polite, gentle. But my men supposed to be strong. Okay, so I want y'all to tell me what the third rule of life is. I can do anything I put my mind to. Scream it. All right. Y'all can sit down now. Y'all can sit down. I had to wake y'all up because I had too many boys with they. See, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're sleepy, baby. You're sleepy. Look, your fist, listen, having your fist like this, that's basically you punching yourself. You're punching yourself. Sit up straight. I want to see. You see this bright jersey? You can see this from a mile away. You know what I'm saying? What number am I? Can you see that? 3. Okay, I got you. But the third rule of life is I can do.
All right, so there's a couple of things to discuss here. The first thing is, I think his intentions were well. To begin with.
Well, his intentions were well.
Yeah, I think that he's doing a good thing. He's going to a school. He wants to talk. He wants to encourage. He wants to bring the light.
His intentions in the speech that he was trying to make were well and right-minded. How he worded it was a train wreck.
Yeah. I agree with it, but I also want to kind of go back to I don't know if I agree that his intentions were well, because his intentions to enlighten the young boys is always well, but the words that he chose for young girls, you need to then ask them to stand up and bring the light to them and talk about what they should be doing, because they're strong and they have a message to send and they don't need to be silent, because this is especially a little more sensitive after what we just have been witnessing. I know this is young kids, but you have to think about this from the grassroots level. What we see far too often in politics with someone like Elizabeth Warren to be silenced. And these women shouldn't be resisting, and they shouldn't be this. So it's like from a young age, we've got to learn that, yeah, men are known to be big and strong, right? We know that that's always a message to put across. But that doesn't mean that you single them out and then not go to the young ladies in the class who are looking to be inspired.
This is why I say the intention was still right. What in the full context of the situation, there was a kid sleeping in the back of the class.
Yeah.
Which I mean, we're actually overanalyzing a 5th grade elementary school speech. I just need to point out the self-awareness of this. But there's a kid sleeping in the back of the classroom, and he wants to wake that kid up. He doesn't want to single him out or make fun of him or make him feel like he's alienated. He wants to make them feel like he's one with his classmates. Now, could have Jameis Winston just stood up and said, "Everybody get up"? Of course he did. That wasn't what he said, though, so we're going to pick it apart. He wanted to get that kid to feel a part of the group. So he had all his strong young men, a stereotype that's reinforced by every single person in the history of this world. And nowadays, you can't reinforce that men are supposed to be strong because women have to be equally as strong. And I agree with equal rights and all of that stuff. But the one thing I'll say is, if Elizabeth Warren was a man or a woman, slimy-ass Mitch McConnell was going to shut that person up.
No,
regardless. It had nothing to do with Elizabeth Warren being a woman. And that's where people were getting a lot of that argument wrong. It's not because Elizabeth Warren was a woman she had to sit down and shut up. No, it was ridiculous that any politician would have been made to do that from Mitch McConnell's standpoint. But I think what's absurd about this is it was a poor choice of words. That's really it. I don't think there's a greater overlying picture. Now, you could disagree with me 100%, and that's fine. It's just my opinion. And my opinion is there's no greater overlying theme. There's no cloud over this. Is that, like, look at Jameis Winston reinforcing negative stereotypes. I think that's so overblown, in my opinion. And the only other thing that I think that's worth, for me, bringing up in this situation is anybody who's still clinging on to this Jameis Winston rape allegation charge and trying to link it to this speech is brain dead. And I'm going to give a tiny bit of information so I don't just make a statement and then don't back it up. They reached a deal. There was numerous reports from eyewitnesses and friends and people that were involved in this case that say he was innocent, and not just of the fraternity brother football-esque background. We're talking about it coming clear, and they came to a deal. These have nothing to do with each other, yet every single report, that's a lie, a lot of reports from anywhere from ESPN to Yahoo feel the need to mention at the end of everything, and this is also the Jameis Winston who was tied to a rape allegation, although he was found innocent.
Yeah.
End of speech.
The really quick, the one thing, the rebuttal on the Elizabeth Warren thing, I don't think there's more historical context to telling a woman to be silenced in amongst a cabinet hearing than there is to be telling a man. Mitch McConnell might have said it to a man, but it's not going to have the same impact as it's going to be to a woman who notoriously has been silenced, and women have been silenced in that environment and told they shouldn't be continuing to resist because they need to basically know their place. So that's where I think it's a little different. I think that if he was to tell someone like a man to sit down in that situation and not have their point to be proven, historically men haven't been told to sit down and know their place in that environment. So I think it's just a little bit different. And that's where I go to the point where, yeah, I think that his intentions, as I mentioned, are great. You go and you give back to the youth. But I think that's a great opportunity to promote some foundations towards young girls at a very, very young age, that this is something that they believe that they could be doing as well. Stand up, be strong. And I'm so with you on the one part that you said that many people haven't been reporting. Trying to get a young guy to pay attention in a group where all your friends are there, I think that's such a smart idea to be like, all right, all the boys, all those that you're friends with out there, come on, all stand up. Let's get him riled together. That's understandably the message.
All he had to do was be like, all right, now all the girls.
That's it. He only has to do that to push forward that message.
The thing that's being obviously reported on is, and I'm not sure if we have the exact words, I don't have the article in front of me, but from the video was girls are supposed to be silent and polite and gentle. No, man, they're not. They can be louder, stronger than men if they want to be.
Yeah.
Men could be silent, polite, and gentle if they'd like to be. That's
Yeah, I think you're somewhat right, Jay, and somewhat wrong in a different sense. I think it is a little bit overanalyzed, but I think it's more of an allusion to the bigger picture rather than an issue with Jameis Winston himself. Mm-hmm. I think it's a pointing to the fact that like we have an entire southern part of our country that still agrees with that. You know what I mean? That's the entire kind of like. That's where that mindset comes from, is that southern hospitality, that women are polite and soft and tender, and that you hear that and it's linked with a southern accent, so that's where that comes from. And I think that is kind of like, it points to the spectrum we live on in this country, because you play that here in LA and everyone's like, whoa, no, what? No, girls are just as strong, what? But
that's not a
South
sentiment
like,
that's agreed upon everywhere. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, right. So like, I think it just points to the fact that we live on such a spectrum socially, as far as social issues go in this country, that the South is like on a way different scale. Because I know a lot of people in the South don't have an issue with that statement. And I think that the fact that had he left it as, boys stand up, be strong, da 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 da. It's the fact that he left it in the girls. You're supposed to be silent. You're supposed to be quiet and polite. Just like Francis was saying, that history matters, man. Like if I said, Jay, you didn't get a raise at the beginning of the year because you're acting like a bitch, that's a joke between you know what I mean? But if I say that to any of my female coworkers, there's a completely different history with females not getting what they need or want in the workplace because of them being so-called perceived as bitches. So that taking that history into keeping it cognizant, it changes the context a little bit.
And sometimes it's hard to fathom it, especially when it's elementary kids. You're like, this is so much history that we are imposing on this, but we talk about the importance of these figures and teachers and what they can do at such an early age, right? And the media interpretation is not going to help, because these young girls are probably going to see this. They're going to see this on their social media and being like, yeah, like he didn't address me. Now I feel like there's something wrong here, right? So it doesn't help as much, because we're going to blow it out of proportion to the point where these girls are going to think that.
Right. I agree with all that. I think the most important part here is you have to watch how he's handling himself while he's saying it. And when you watch him, if you just read a transcript, you're going to think you're going to start to mangle how it's being presented. Mm-hmm. And that's so important. Because if you read a transcript, you can read that any which way you want. Girls are supposed to be soft, polite, and gentle. You can read it like that if you want. But if you watch him as how he said it, it's still extremely wrong. It's not right. However, in the context of the full speech, I just don't think what he was trying to get across, his intentions were still well-hearted and should have been just worded a little bit better.
Yeah, for
not
sure.
To F with that.
I said, I think it's points to the big picture, and that becomes a conversation more. Like, I have no fault with Jameis Winston for this. He's simply repeating what he's been taught.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, he's not. had it been different, had he like physically thrown the women out of the class or like something like no, like he just went along with something he's been taught. He's not a public speaker. He's a football player. I don't hold fault with him. Like I said, I think it just points to the mindset that persists in the South that like women are soft and tender and have this role in society, and men are supposed to be strong. And some men aren't strong. Some men have softer voices. Some men are technical engineers.
I got beat up by
like,
all my sisters.
Yeah,
growing
man,
up,
same here. I have 4 sisters that whoop my
kidding?
ass. Like, on both sides, I think it's somewhat of a problematic mindset. But I don't fault Jameis Winston. I'm not on a witch hunt for him. I just want this to become more of a conversation.
This is just like it's another example of like being able to have these conversations, like responsibly, and not taking such a partisan stance.
Yeah.
To one side of it, because in this instance, this isn't the greatest example of being like Jameis Winston should be cut by the Bucks for anti-women remarks. But there's going to be outlets that run that, and there's going to be on the other side saying Winston's right, men are strong, women are soft, and that's equally wrong. I think I'm titling this clip. I haven't titled it yet because we're shooting it right now, but this is kind of like Inception. My ideas were going to be what was Jameis Winston exactly thinking, or Jameis Winston's poor word choice lands him in hot water. It's definitely not going to be titled along the lines of Jameis Winston hates women. Especially young women.
I think it was what Jacory was saying. Is that I don't think he was thinking. I think he was just working on what you said. You mentioned what he was taught, and so therefore there's not a problem with shedding some light on it and being like, well, Jameis, I don't know if that's the best way to word it, because then he might change his point of view. He might not switch his full upbringing. The idea that women are supposed to be softer and gentle, he's not going to firmly change that, but addressing it is better than letting it go by, and then some girls might be like, well, maybe I'm supposed to be soft and gentle.
When I was in 5th grade, Jameis Winston told me this.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that
I think that's so important, like how it comes out after this, like as opposed to like shunning Jameis Winston, shutting him down, kicking him off the team, whatever. I think it's just so important to have a conversation and listen, Jameis, that's not really what it is anymore. Let's have you step in the ring for 10 minutes with Ronda Rousey. You would say women are silent, soft, and kind. Then have someone explain that to him on a national stage, and if on the slight chance we can have Jameis Winston, the star, tough, deep-voiced football player from the South, like he said it, if he can have him on a major stage say, oh, yeah, you're right. There are strong, loud women in the world, and they've changed the course of history. If we can have him say that, all the people that are behind him are like, oh, well, if tough Jameson can look at women as equals, then shit, I can too. Yeah. Changes the whole landscape.
Hey, guys, another thing, I don't mean to change the subject, but another thing, we got to remember that kid that was sleeping, he called out, Don't bring that kid that attention, because like, think about it. Maybe the kid that was falling asleep, he was bored and wanted to be somewhere else. Because I think another thing that a lot of people forget is the worst. Another thing that's really bad when you do to a kid at that age is you singling that kid out for falling asleep, and he could be like ostracized and then picked on at the schoolyard, dude. Because the schoolyard's a prison yard, man.
I agree with Chris Rock on this one, and I always have and I always will. Kids need bullying. It's a drastic statement, but kids need bullying.
I don't know. It's like my teacher it's like you're almost like playing a teacher's role. I think that if he was to just single them out and be like, yo, don't be sleeping in this. This is important. Then maybe you might have a case, but he didn't. He was like, all right, let's get everyone together. What you got to do is let's get everyone not sleep.
You got to sleep harder so you don't even hear Jameis saying.
You're just sitting there
look,
like,
man,
whoa.
Like I would sleep through chemistry class. You got to make sure that the teacher can't even call on you, that you got straight up drool on your desk. That's how you get away with sleeping in school.
All right, well, this has been honest, been a good discussion, important conversation. Make sure to continue it in the comment section below on Twitter, Francis_Maxwell, Jason91, and not at Jacory or Bart,
because they don't have Twitter.
They don't have Twitter. They're just voices of reason.
They're afraid.
From the beyond.
They're afraid.
See you guys soon.
They're afraid.